Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are running into our favorite video each and every weekday, the player props video here. Finished the week super strong, going undefeated. CJ climbed over that prop to keep us undefeated. Nicola did not play, so I guess we got all his unders correct. But either way, obviously those bets did not count. Looking to stay hot here on this 8-game slate tonight. Make sure you do check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And like and subscribe to that page and check out those other couple game videos that we have up for you today. Make sure also you are staying on thelines.com as we've got that great props tool for you, making sure that you are getting the best value on all of those bets you're making from odds makers available out there on those NBA player props today. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, we got the old GOAT right now. LeBron not buried 12 feet under yet, as he proved coming out that next game after the embarrassment against the Clippers, drops a 56-point game against the Warriors. StatMuse with that interesting nugget that he's the first guy to do it below 21 years old and over 35 years old, that is get a 50 burger. But in any case, the 44% usage rate is interesting. After that first embarrassment against the Clippers coming out of the All-Star break, he went for 32 points on a 37.5 usage rate against the Pelicans' #1 defense. That is since the break, really over the last couple weeks. The Pelicans are just elite on both ends of the floor, but I digress here. The point is that LeBron is trying to carry his team, and his usage rate just continues to climb. In his last 4, he's got 35 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds a game, just 4 assists per game. It's extremely low for LeBron, but that's why we're just targeting points here against a Spurs team that is really as bad on defense as the Pelicans are good lately, and that he has had no trouble scoring against in 11 games as a Laker, getting 31.7 points per game on again, huge usage rate, 34.5%. That includes 36-point game on 15 for 26 field goal shooting in a 138-110 loss, Josh, to the Spurs in December. The Lakers, they're going to need LeBron's points, obviously, to hang with anybody, because the rest of their offense is just putrid. Their defense is also putrid. The Spurs also putrid. That is why we have a 235-point total here. And whether you think of him as a point guard or a center, this is a good matchup. I mean, the Spurs give up the second most points and rebounds per game to point guards. They also give up the most paint points, or third most paint points on the season. So LeBron can get his inside and out against this team, as we saw when they faced off in December again. And I would consider the 35 plus in a win, because it's plus 450 nearly at FanDuel. That's because the Lakers are not expected to win many games right now, but the Spurs are looking towards next season. I don't know if they even want to make the play-in tournament at this point. They're 24-40, and the Lakers are a solid 19-13 against teams below 500 versus 1-15 their last 16 against teams above 500. So I would sprinkle a little on that, but really I just expect LeBron to get 30 plus again, as he knows he has to do everything he can for this team right now.
Yeah. I mean, I told you beforehand, I'm still not going to put any money on. If I need the Lakers to win my bet, I don't feel good about it right now. But 31 points for the King. You mentioned, is he a point guard? Is he a center? Who cares? He's a LeBron James, and whatever position he's playing against the Lakers, against the Spurs, in his last 11 games versus them, we're talking 32 points a game. So I think we feel good about that. The Spurs at home love to go over 19-10 to the over at home this season. Love to score a ton of points and love to give up a ton of points. So with a 235 total here, and the Kings, the Lakers needing to get about 117 to hang with that total 118 or so, whatever, you got to expect LeBron to have 31 of those 115, 118 points tonight. Big time for the King. Old GOAT is not washed yet. Moving on to another game that should have a good amount of points. The putrid Knicks, speaking of putrid, taking on the Kings here. So we're immediately looking for some Kings players that can get some points. And where the Knicks, give up their points is everywhere but the paint, everywhere but on second chance points and rebounds. So that's why we look at guards here. And I like De'Aaron Fox, who has been on a complete tear since Tyrese Halliburton left the squad, as was probably expected, but he's definitely played even better since that time, averaging about 29 points and 7.5 assists in that time frame. His assist prop is at 5.5 tonight. That gets you about even money, minus 105 on DraftKings. I really, really like that. The points are also a really nice juicy bet in terms of even money for him to get over 25.5. But either way, those assists feel really, really good to me tonight, like way too low. In his last 7 since the trade, as I mentioned, averaging those 29 points and 7.5 assists in that time frame in 39 minutes. He is shooting 52% from the field, has some pretty good splits, even improved his 3-point shooting up to about 33%. So, his usage rate still at about 28%, 28.5% since the trade as well. And really, I love the fact that he's playing at a pace of 103 plus individually, because he's just getting it and going. He's not really worried about the rebounds as much lately as we can see, about 4 or 3.5 a game since the trade. So it's really about the assists and moving around for him. The Knicks, especially in their last 6, giving up the 10th most assists per game. They're allowing the 9th most fast break points. So as I mentioned, it's anybody who's getting it and going and diming the way that De'Aaron Fox has been lately, that you feel really good about, them being able to put up numbers against the Knicks. He dropped 44 in his last game, did De'Aaron Fox as well. We know that usage rate is going to stay super high. So if you want to get the points in there, I'm fine with the over 25.5. To be honest, he's averaging 3 more than that, as I said, in his last 7. But even just the points and assists as well at 30.5, I feel good about him getting close to 23, 24 points. And I really love him to get those 6, 7 assists, which is why really at the end of the day, if you're going to get about even money back for betting on him to get 6 assists tonight, I feel very, very good about that. As I said, he's averaging plenty more than that since that trade happened.
Yeah, and he just dropped 44 on 18 for 31 field goal shooting against the Dallas Mavericks, the team that plays that stingy defense much, much better than these Knicks, who have lost 12 of their last 15 on the road. The player performance doubles aren't that appealing for him just because they're on weird numbers here, but 28 plus points for plus 240 would consider that if you're going to take him over 25.5 points anyway. He could have another 30-point game for sure. And as you said, he's averaging 29 since the trade. Going back to Bay here on Friday, he was money, or I think that was last Wednesday, excuse me. But we have about the same props now for Saddiq Bey of the Pistons. He 22.5 points and rebounds at minus 115. Better juice on just the points at 17.5. But I would play it safe with the combined because he is getting about 6 boards per game over his last 15 games, along with 18 points per game. And the Hawks are a team that's playing with plenty of pace, giving up the 2nd most points per game, 4th most rebounds to small forwards in their last 15. In one game against Atlanta, he had 21 and 7 back in November here on 8 for 16 field goals shooting. In his last 4, Bay, 24 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, playing 36 minutes, had a 133 offensive rating with really nice splits of 52, 42, 81. And, you take, even with some duds against the top defenses, that's what you like about the player props for a guy like this. It's predictable. When he faces a top 10 defense, he will struggle. When he faces a bottom 10, he should get you there. He has some duds against the Celtics, Cavs, and Mavs lately, still, hitting that average of 18 and 6. So if that's his average with those 3-point duds in there, you got to like him to go over that against the Hawks, who can't defend anybody right now. And if you're worried about a blowout, by the way, Detroit 5-2 over their last 7 games, 6-1 against the spread. Really haven't been blown out in 9 straight games, and 4-2-1 to the over in that 7-game span. So should see a lot of points here, 228 total. And Bay is playing, 36 minutes as a key member of that Piston squad.
Yep, he is, and he's up that 3-point game big time. In his last 4 or 5, as you mentioned, with all those points and rebounds that he's averaging, over 23 points, and then those over 6 boards a game. He's also shooting about 7.5 threes a game, making 3 of them, right? So he's hitting about 41.5% of his threes. Atlanta, the 5th worst 3-point defense in the league this season. As you mentioned, not very good on defense, plenty good on offense and pace. So I think we've got plenty of opportunity for Bay to get a ton ton of boards and plenty of points tonight as well. If he's going to be hitting those threes the way that he has been, if he gets 3 threes tonight for sure, I feel even just incredible about that 22.5 points and rebounds combined tonight. So I'll follow you and continue to hit Bay with you. And then another guy we might start calling Bay before long, Tyrese Maxey here. We're talking about a guy who's now moving his way up the rankings in terms of the coast to coast player props MVP so far. He's got a ways to go before he catches DeMar, but our guy has been crushing lately since we've got Harden. And that's really where we're looking, is since the 76ers got Harden. And this is something that we called. People were wondering what was going to happen to Tyrese Maxey once that trade happened. I think we both love the fact that now he's not needing to be a point guard, right? The other guard playing off of him for most of the season so far before the trade was Seth Curry, who is great in his own right, but especially off ball, which means Tyrese Maxey was expected to just sort of drive to the paint and get his shots on his own. And that's not really where he's at yet. I think he's been an incredible off ball guard who's had incredible numbers. So, his points are still super low, which is why we keep going back to him. They have not yet adjusted, I don't think, anywhere correctly for how many points he's scoring. So it's 17.5 points tonight. Going to go ahead and smack that over to get minus 115 on DraftKings. We also do like the 76ers to win tonight, as we mentioned in that other game video. So for him to just get a couple more points than his point prop, if he gets 20 points and a W, you get plus 186 on your money on FanDuel. Really, really like that player performance double there. Definitely going to tweet that one out. Since the Harden trade, as we're talking about this, to let you know, 27 points a game on 65% from the field, 70% from 3 on 5 attempts. So he's making more than 2.5, about 3 for 5 a game from 3. His usage rate is up since the trade, about 22% now. And then in his last game versus Chicago, this is not a real number, but it happened. 172 individual offensive rating on just 16 points with just a 12% usage rate. So maybe they should get him the ball more against Chicago. I think we can expect that, as we've said, his usage rate way up since the trade as well. And he's scoring 41% of his points from 3, as we mentioned, being the off-ball guard, getting the benefit of James Harden needing to get double teamed as soon as he crosses half court, essentially, and getting a lot more open threes for him. So 41% of his roughly 20 plus points a game since the Harden trade coming from 3. The Chicago, 5th highest opponent 3-point percentage on the season. They're very, very bad. And they're allowing 117 points a game over their last 6. As we mentioned, their defensive rating getting even worse now as they continue to increase the amount of games they're playing without their 2 best defenders in Caruso and Ball. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for guards to be scoring tonight. We love Harden's assists, by the way. If you wanted to get that 10 plus assists for him and a win, you get plus money there for James Harden, which means who's he passing the ball to aside from Joel Embiid? Most likely Tyrese Maxey. And so we really, really love 17.5 points for him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. You mentioned the usage rate is up actually since the Harden trade. Maxey has become a bigger part of what the Sixers do. Kind of counterintuitively, some might think, but he actually fits in perfectly next to Harden as that slashing guard who can still knock down a shot if he's open. Yeah. And with so much collapse on Embiid and Harden, his offensive rating is out of control. And you look at it, his last game against Chicago, he actually posted a 172 offensive rating, but had 16 points on 6 for 9 field goal shooting, just an 11% usage rate. Well, it's double that now, so we can, I guess, reasonably project 32 points if he were to have that same efficiency, at least 22, at least 18, which is his prop. So 20 plus in a win, maybe even 25 plus in a win if you want that extra juice. I always endorse the Maxey player props right now until he catches up to the other 2 members of the new big 3 in Philly. Yeah. Young Gun is becoming a member of a big 3.
Yeah. Exactly. And his, not only his usage rate, but his minutes as well, going up entirely as, up to about 37 minutes per game, from the 34 he was playing. So yeah, plenty of things to like here with Maxey. I think we're going to continue to stay on a roll tonight with these player props, as that is all the time we have for you today. So make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page, and you can check out those other couple of videos we have for you on this 8-game Monday night slate. And until we see you next, happy betting.